I feel like I've been talking about gimbals quite a lot recently, but somebody did ask me what the difference was between the INKEE Falcon Plus and the Hohem iSteady Pro 4, so that's what I want to talk about in this video. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't heard me talk about why you might want to use a gimbal, I'll go through it in a second, but if you have heard this already, then just use the chapters in the description to skip on through. But essentially, if you're using something like the GoPro Hero 9 or the GoPro Hero 10 and you're filming in low light, the image stabilization isn't going to work, it's just rubbish. The footage is really shaky and wobbly, so that's when you're going to want to switch off image stabilization and just use a gimbal instead. The other thing is if you shoot with ND filters. So if you're trying to get a cinematic look, I do this because cinematic could be all different kinds of things, but using an ND filter and shooting with the 180-degree shutter rule, I'll put a link in the description to that video because I go into more detail about what that actually means in depth. But if you want to use filters to shoot with the 180-degree shutter rule for that cinematic look, then you're going to want to drop your shutter speed down to something which is quite low. And with a slower shutter speed, that means that the image stabilization isn't going to work. And again, you're going to get that shaky, janky looking footage. So that's another reason why you would want to use the gimbal with your Hero 9 or Hero 10. So with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about the similarities between the INKEE Falcon Plus and the Hohem iSteady Pro 4, because Hohem sent me the iSteady Pro 4 a little while ago, and INKEE also sent me the INKEE Falcon Plus a little while ago. I've already done a video on the INKEE Falcon Plus, so do check that out, there's a link in the description. So I'll talk about the similarities and then I'll talk about how they differ and which one you might want to use in which scenario. So in terms of similarities, they both have pretty much the same gimbal modes, pan, tilt, follow, lock, that kind of thing. So in terms of standard gimbal movements, they both have that. They both also allow you to control the camera, so you can start recording, take a photo, or start a time lapse just from pressing the buttons on the gimbal, on both gimbals. So again, that's something that's pretty standard for most action camera gimbals as well. The other thing is that both gimbals can charge the action cameras. So the iSteady Pro 4 allows you to shoot for 3 hours without having to change the battery for the GoPro. The INKEE Falcon Plus, I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember, so I'll put it on the screen in a second. But it just means that you have that extra bit of power so that you don't have to keep switching out batteries. Now in terms of differences, I feel like the iSteady Pro 4 has a lot more going for it than the INKEE Falcon Plus, but again, this is completely subjective because it depends on how you're going to be shooting and what you're going to be shooting. So I'll go through the iSteady Pro 4 advantages first, and whatever the iSteady Pro 4 has, it means the INKEE Falcon Plus doesn't have, and then vice versa when I talk about the INKEE Falcon Plus. So firstly, the iSteady Pro 4 is splash proof, so it means that if you get caught in the rain or the snow, you don't have to worry about it. It's completely splash proof, so you're covered there. And the INKEE Falcon Plus doesn't have this, which is a little bit odd given that it's used for action cameras where you're going to be potentially in the snow, caught in the rain, that kind of thing. So maybe INKEE will, in the next iteration, add that to the gimbal. But yeah, the iSteady Pro 4 is splash proof, so if you need something for that, then that's going to be perfect. The other thing is with the iSteady Pro 4, you can actually do motion time-lapse. So even though you can control the cameras via the buttons on the gimbals and you can start a time-lapse, with the iSteady Pro 4 you can actually do motion time-lapse, and to do that you have to use the app. So the INKEE Falcon Plus just allows you to, like I said, start a time-lapse, but you can't actually have any motion, so it would just be a static time-lapse. But yeah, the iSteady Pro 4 lets you have the motion as well. If you wanted to shoot sport mode because you were following a subject which was moving really fast, then the iSteady Pro 4 has that if you press and hold the trigger button. So normally the gimbal will pan and move quite slowly just so it's got that nice fluid motion, but if you want it to kind of whip back and forth or just move around a little bit quicker, then pressing the trigger button and holding it in gives you that sport mode so that it just moves a lot faster, moves faster so that you can track a quickly moving subject, a fast moving subject. The iSteady Pro 4 also allows you to mount additional accessories. So if you wanted to mount, for example, your mobile phone, then that's something that you can do. You can put it on the side. Hohem actually have some additional accessories that you can check out, so I'll put a link in the description to those as well, because they could be quite useful for you. Then the last thing, which is just probably sold it for me, because I hate faffing around. If I have to faff around with gear, then I just don't want to use it. So the iSteady Pro 4 has a quick mount system. So instead of using a screw, all you have to do is just unclip it, put the action camera in and clip it back on. It's so quick to just take it on and off. And that's just something that I love. It also means that if you, for any reason, lose the screw that normally comes with an action camera, then it's fine, you can still use the gimbal. But I'm sure you'd have loads of those anyway. But still, it just means that you can mount the camera really quickly and dismount it, unmount it really quickly as well. So in terms of the INKEE Falcon Plus, the biggest thing that it has going for it is the fact that you can use the media mod for the Hero 9 and the Hero 10. So if you want to use an external microphone, or you want to, I did a video on that as well, so there's a link in the description to that. If you want to use an external microphone or the light mod, then it means that you could use the media mod on the gimbal. And that's something that I'm so disappointed that the iSteady Pro 4 didn't have, because having that would have just made the whole gimbal perfect. And I really hope that Hohem do something about that in a future upgrade to the gimbal. The other thing is the INKEE Falcon Plus is a lot smaller. I say a lot smaller, it's just smaller than the iSteady Pro 4. The INKEE Falcon Plus, with the trigger button, you can flip the camera back, front facing and back facing really quickly. And the iSteady Pro 4 doesn't have this, and it's really annoyed me because, again, it's one of those things that would have just made it perfect. So having the media mod, being able to flip the camera front facing and then back facing, it's a really simple thing, but when you're vlogging and you're talking and then you want to show something, having that functionality to just flip the camera front ways and then back ways is just really useful. So again, hopefully iSteady will, Hohem will have that in a future upgrade. But yeah, I feel like the iSteady Pro 4 is my preferred one, but I feel like I will end up using the INKEE Falcon Plus more, just because of the fact that I can use the media mod with it. So yeah, which one you use is completely dependent on how you're going to use it. So I hope you found the video useful. If you did, do give it a like. I have got some more videos coming up about different gimbals. Yes, more gimbals, but not necessarily for action cameras. So if you're into gimbals and you're looking for vlogging solutions, then do subscribe to check out that video. But yeah, thanks for watching and catch you next time.